Good day. My name is Shimon Lawton and I work for MANCOSA's School of Education. The COVID-19 pandemic has changed our reality. The spread of the virus, mainly through droplets from the mouth and nose, forces us to change our social interactions, including those of teaching and learning. Due to the socio-economic inequalities in the South African context, quintile 1 to 3 schools do not have the necessary resources to switch to high-tech remote teaching and learning. Over and above this limitation is the capacity and the readiness of some teachers, as technology skills were always seen as a tool for the ICT classroom. But COVID-19 has thrust all educators into this uncharted territory as we look at how to effectively teach and learn remotely. This webinar series will focus on building and fine-tuning tech skills of educators throughout the South African context, from those with none or limited tech skills to those looking to refine their ability to teach remotely. We at MANCOSA's School of Education believe that the challenge brought about by COVID-19 pandemic should not result in children from deprived environments being left behind. It is with this in mind that we have gathered together professionals to equip and train our teachers to serve our communities meaningfully during this time. The MANCOSA SOE is proud to be a partner in this essential initiative to equip our educators and enable them to adapt to this changing environment.
We are currently in our phase 2 of our online remote teaching and learning series. Today we have with us Matthew Summers. Matthew Summers will be speaking on the topic of using Microsoft Teams as an online classroom. Matthew Summers is from Durban, South Africa. He currently works as a human resource manager at a leading South African company. His passion for IT and expertise in digital literacy has put him on steady footing, especially during this time of remote working. He currently hosts much of his collaboration and meeting and communication using these different e-platforms, including that of Microsoft Teams. Good day, Matthew.
Hi, good afternoon, Shimon. How are you doing today?
I'm well, thanks. You've been using this platform of Microsoft Teams now for a while. And how have you found the platform?
To be honest with you, it's been an invaluable tool with regards to me being able to be effective within my workplace. I deal with teams all over the country. So therefore, being able to interact with them on a daily basis via video chat, uploading of specific work schedules and work spreadsheets, I've been able to do this seamlessly with the help of Microsoft Teams. The interface is excellent. It's quite easy to use, and it's very effective. You're able to record your workings that you might be busy with at the time. So if people are unavailable to basically join in your collaboration or your meeting at that time, you're able to record it, and at a later stage they're able to come up and actually view what you've actually expressed or gone over during that collaboration and meeting, which it's an excellent tool because, as I said, sometimes not everybody is available at the same time, but due to the recording function, you are able to they are then able to go over what was discussed in that meeting and so forth.
Definitely. I know that you are currently using it in the corporate field, but we are obviously for this series mainly focusing on that which is of education, using the platform because it's free, using it for online teaching. Would you be able to take us through a step-by-step process of how do we successfully and efficiently use this online platform during this time of remote teaching and learning?
Okay, so first of all, with regards to the system, you would need to have a valid email address because that's the only way in which somebody that is hosting a meeting or hosting a Teams call will be able to contact you and then obviously send you a link in order to join in on the call or on the meeting, okay? So what I'm going to quickly do is I will quickly share my screen, and then we can have a look at a simple process of first creating a team. So your team would be those, I'm going to say for your instance, those learners or those students with whom you would like to have your meeting with, and obviously conduct your lessons and so forth. So I will first start with showing how to create a team, and then we will move on to inviting members into your team. Okay, so I'll just quickly share my screen for you.
While you're sharing your screen, Matthew, I think it's important to reiterate that. So if you don't have an email, I would suggest going on to the different platforms like Yahoo or Gmail and creating an email address. So you have one before creating the Microsoft team, as well as possibly your school could be using different emails for their students and getting hold of those details.
That is correct. That is correct. So one of the criteria is that you need to have an email address in order to access the system. As you made mention, Gmail, Yahoo, Outlook, you've got to have one of those. Otherwise, you will not be able to receive an invite to get into the system, unfortunately. Okay, so I've shared my screen. I'm now going to open up Microsoft Teams for you in order to have a look at the interface, right? So if we look at currently on your left-hand side of the screen, you've got a navigation bar, right? This navigation consists of activity, chat, teams, calendar, calls, and files. The best part about Microsoft Teams is that you are able to upload Word documents, Excel documents, PowerPoint presentations, and so forth into the system. So any person that has access to the specific team that you've created is then able to come in and actually view those documents. Should you be working in a team where it's required that people need to collaborate on special reports and so forth, but instead of sending out different reports to each individual and then having to consolidate at a later point, you could do one document which everybody has access to, and once they've got access to it, they could update and put in the information that they would require, and the system would then tell you exactly which person worked last on the document. So therefore, there is a accountability for whoever was working on the document. So you know exactly the last person that worked on this document was Matthew or Shimon. So there's no way of how can I put it to you? There's a history of who's worked on a document. So nobody can come in and change something and somebody else come back and not know who did the change. So from that point,
I think this is a good point to speak about when it comes to educators could possibly use this for group work,
yes,
where
correct.
they give a certain document to a certain group, and they could actually see, okay, who was actually collaborating on this particular worksheet or documents or report, etc.
Correct. That is 100% correct. Okay. The nice part about it as well, should somebody have done a bit of work on the system, so with regards to updating or spreadsheets and so forth, if you look in the top left-hand corner, you see it says activity. So let's just say I were to log into my MS Teams at a later point, there would be a notification on your left corner under the activity tab to say that there was somebody had worked on the system, or maybe somebody had left a message, so you would then be able to go in and view it and see, okay, XYZ was done, right? So that's a very nice function about it. It gives you notifications when somebody's been doing work on the system and so forth. What I'm going to quickly do now is we're going to quickly create a team, all right? So if we look at the bottom of the screen, you've got a little tab here that says join or create a team. I'm going to create a team for us quickly. Right. So as we can see here, it says create team. I'll click on that. So we've got two options here. If you've got a mail list, if you're using Office 365 and use Outlook Express as your email client, you can create a team based on the email addresses that you've got within certain groups on your email account. For our purpose today, we're going to build a team from scratch, because I obviously don't think that we would be able to do, well, the students would be, or the teacher would be able to create one from an existing email list that they might have. So we're going to start and build a team from scratch. So we'll click on that.
I think it's important to note here that, you know, we take it for granted that most teachers don't actually work through email most of the time. And so they don't necessarily have an Outlook platform or groups where they're constantly sharing information with. And so I would think that this is the better way. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, okay. So what we're going to do, we will create a private team. The reason for that is we do not want, so if I'm conducting a lesson, or if I create a team and my team is a specific target of students or people, shall I say, we do not want someone else that should not have access to this being able to now come in and view what we are busy discussing or what we're going over. So for that purpose, I think let's do a private team, right? So we'll give it a name. Shimon, give us an example. What name would you like to name your team?
Miss Lawton's classroom.
Okay. Right. Let's give it a description.
Lesson on fractions, or fraction lesson 1.
Okay, let's do that. Fraction lesson 1. Right, and we'll say create. Awesome. So now we need to start adding members to this team. This is when you require people's email addresses. From here, you would add in an email address. So for an example, I'm just going to create a fictitious email address and say joslow@gmail.com. It says here @joslow@gmail.com as a guest. I'm going to click that, and I'm going to click add. Let's give it some time. Right, then I'm going to click on close. Basically, what has now happened is that you've now got a team on the side here, which is listed as Miss Lawton's classroom. If we click on it, we then have a tab which is general. If we click on it, it basically takes you into Miss Lawton's classroom, which is her workspace, which is now basically to the right or more to the right of the screen. Right. I've added Joe Slow as a guest to the team. So what would then happen is that Joe Slow would now receive a link on his email address stating that he has been invited to Miss Lawton's classroom. And he would then, once click on that link, he would then have access to this classroom. Right. Adding, if we require to add more people, we can click on add more people, which is over here. And again, we would now require the person's email address and so forth and add it on. And once that email address is added, the system will then send out a link once again to that person with the registered email address, and then they would then have access now to the classroom. Right.
Matthew, can I ask a question about,
sure,
once you've made a team, do you always have to go back and create a new meeting all the time? Or once it has been created, can you possibly use, so for example, would I be able to use Miss Lawton's classroom consistently or recurring? But would it be able to be recurring? Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So once a classroom is set up, it's there. It will remain there. You can come in at any time and access the classroom. And if you would like to send out messages and so forth, you would, as it says at the bottom of the screen, it says a start a new conversation. So you could type in a message within that taskbar at the bottom, chat box, and that would then populate within the team. So I'll quickly type in something here. Hi class. And what would then happen? It would come up within the team, which it would send out to everybody. So this is where, if you look at the top left-hand corner under your activity, there would be a little red notification that would pop up, and that would then tell you that obviously there's been some activity just taken place within a specific team, shall I say. Right. The next thing I wanted to go over was to show that, as I mentioned earlier, let's say you need to collaborate on a document and so forth. In order to do that, we are able to use the classroom or the team and upload files. If you look at the top of the screen, you've got chat says files. If we click on that, it then opens up another area within your classroom, or your team, shall I say. Right. And we're going to just click on new, and we're going to create a folder. We're going to name this folder as, well, I would assume this is a maths class because we spoke about fractions. So I'm going to say fractions lesson 1, and we're going to create it. Okay, so now we've got a folder here which is fractions lesson 1. So Shimon, should you now want to upload any worksheets or anything for students or whoever it might be, you would then be able to open this folder, and from your existing computer, whatever documentation or spreadsheets or whatever the case you want, we then add it onto the screen, into this folder. So I'm quickly going to create a Excel document, and we're then going to add it into that, and then I'll show you how the system basically works. So just give us a second.
Matthew, as you're working on that, a question that I have is, we're working on documentation now. There is obviously video features that can be enabled. So
yes,
we can possibly work on our team outside of having video communication or audio communication with them. So this is almost used as like a OneDrive where we can all collaborate on particular things. So without having that contact, we can still communicate. Am I correct?
Yeah, that is correct. That is correct. What I'm going to do, I just wanted to show this feature because I'll then move on to the feature of where we are able to now do a video chat and a video call on the system. Okay, so I've just created a blank Excel sheet here. I'm now going to save it quickly. Call it fraction lesson 1. And I'll just quickly save it to my desktop. Save. And we'll just close it quickly. Right. So let's just minimize that. Okay. So the best part about this is now, once I'm back into Miss Lawton's classroom, I've now accessed the files. Sorry, let's go there. I've now accessed the files portion of her classroom. I've created a folder. I'm now going to upload a document within the folder. And it's a simple process of grabbing the document and just dragging it and dropping it in the folder. The system will then upload it, and there we go. We've got your documents, which is now loaded onto your classroom, and everybody that's now basically present within your classroom now has access to this document here.
So Matthew, if you don't know how to drag a folder, because when we're looking at the series of webinars, it's for people who obviously have little to no skills, and I know dragging a folder might seem quite easy to you, but if you didn't want to drag a folder, you didn't know how to do that, is there anything that any feature that, or icon that we could, yeah?
Okay, so if you look within the folder right now, you've got a tab here which is upload, right?
Okay.
So you could click on upload. Let's click on upload, right? It will then open up a box like this, and we could navigate to where you have obviously stored the document that you would now like to upload. So in our case, I stored the documents on my desktop. And if I go here and scroll down, I can see it right there, fraction lesson 1, which I would just single click on it, and I would click open. And this would then upload the document into the folder. Unfortunately, we've already uploaded the document, so it won't upload again because it says here that it has, the system has seen that there is a document currently named fraction lesson 1. So it won't upload the same documents again. So for that day, we'll just cancel that. Right. Now, if I open this document, so I'll just quickly open it. Okay, so I'm just going to write something on the document. Miss Lawson's classroom. Right, and basically in a nutshell, I've quickly edited the document by adding something. I'm going to click on close. What will now happen, if you look at the document now within the folder, it says here modified a few seconds ago, and it gives my name. So basically, whoever now accesses the documents at a later point, they can see which was the last person that worked on the document. So there's accountability with regards to whoever has access to the document and whoever has modified or added information onto the document. So that's a good way of now being able to track who's worked on it, and if anybody were to try and, I'm not saying people would do it, but if anybody were to try and sabotage a document, you know exactly who was the last person that worked on it and who had done that.
I think especially for teachers and educators, it is necessary to be able to track that type of information.
Yeah, definitely. The other option, the other function or feature of the system is that whatever documentation you have uploaded within the file, within the folder on within your team, whoever has access to your team is able to download these documents. So if they don't want to work on the system and would like to work on a copy of the document offline, they are able to do that. You've got the download function, which is here within your folders with files, which you can click on. So basically, if you navigate to your document, you see there's a little circle. If you click on it, there's a tick that would then appear, and you just basically click on download, and this would download the document to your computer, which would then enable you to now work offline on the document. as we can see on the bottom right-hand side, it came up with a notification that the document was downloaded. So now that I've got a copy of the document on my computer, and I don't necessarily need to work on the document online within Microsoft Teams. So that's just basically, that's just basically a simple function of if a lecturer or a teacher would like to upload worksheets and so forth for their students, they could do it in this way within their team that they've created with those members that are, those students that have been invited to in our case, Ms. Lawton's classroom. Okay. One of the other features of Microsoft Teams, and as we mentioned earlier, is that you are able to conduct video calls or video conference calls, video sessions, as well as audio sessions with all those individuals that you invited to your team. Okay, so at this time now, we don't really have anybody that we could call, because obviously I've created a team that's just basically consists of one individual. But I'll just try and just quickly access a call on one of my previous, okay, no, I can't use Chrome. Okay. So on the left-hand side, again, back to your navigation tab, you've got a section that says calls. Right. If you click on that there, I've got a bunch of contacts already that I've previously spoken to, and their names appear within my, as you can see it here on the screen. If I were to click on any one of these individuals, I would then be able to conduct a video call with them, or if not, I could conduct a normal, just phone call with them. Right. If we go back to our Teams, we would like to, so I could then, for instance, if I want to access all my sorry, I'm getting a little bit confused there, jumping the gun. So within now our team, if you want to speak to anybody within the team, you can now conduct a conference call with everybody. In order to do that, at the bottom of the screen here, we've got an icon that says Meet Now. If I were to click on that, I could now add in a subject. We'll call it lesson 1. Once I click on lesson 1, I'm happy with that. I'm now going to schedule a meeting. So we'll click on schedule a meeting. I would then now to add in all the people that I want present. So in our case, we've created a team. We know we've got 10 or 15 students within that team. We would now have to add them via the email addresses into add required attendees. Once we've added them in, so for instance, we had Joe Slow. Let's see if we can find Joe Slow. So there we go, Joe Slow. So Joe Slow, if you recall, Joe Slow was one of the people that we invited to our team. So we click on him. All right. We now need to schedule a date for our meeting. And let's schedule for today at 2:30, which will be May the 8th from 2:30 up until 3 p.m. So as we can see here, it's a 30-minute meeting. The venue is Ms. Lawton's classroom. I'm not going to bother with adding a location because it's not required. Once we've done that, so we've got our person that we can invite, we will then click on send. And basically what will now happen, as you can see, that we've now got a scheduled meeting for Friday, May the 8th, 2020 at 2:30. So this would then send a link to the person's email address, as well as it would come up as a link within the classroom stating what time that you've scheduled a meeting. And we would then be able to click on that. And at the top of the screen, you see it says join. So if I click on join, it would then now commence a video call or an audio call. So you've got the option. You could, if you, and this is the best part about it. So if you're in one of those places, or if you are one of those individuals who don't have access to unlimited data or work within the specific parameters with regards to your data cap, the system is able to adjust and assist you in that sense. Normally, if we do a video call, that would eat a lot of your data. So a lot of the time, you'll find that people who don't have high data caps would rather just do a audio call instead of a video call. So MS Teams allows you that option. So in our case, I've put the video on, and I'm going to say join now. It's not connecting. Okay, unfortunately for us at the moment, we won't be able to access it because Joe Slow doesn't really exist. It's just a fictional email address that we came up with for fictional students. But basically what will then happen is that whoever the intended person is that you would like to be on the call with, they would receive the link, they would log on as per the link that was sent, they would click on join, and once they are in, whoever is on the same call would then have access to each other. So you've got the option, you could either have your video on where you can view the person, or if you don't want to go that route and want to save data, you could just conduct a normal audio call, which would be perfectly fine and would work perfectly.
Matthew, I've noticed that when you hover or your mouse over Ms. Lawton's classroom, on the right there are a few buttons or dots on the right-hand side of Ms. Lawton's classroom. And are there any functions there that is necessary for a teacher to know about?
Okay, so basically, if I click on it, as we can see here, you've got the options of manage team, add channel, add a member, leave team, edit team, get linked to the team, or manage tags, or even just delete the team. Okay, so sometimes, so if I click on manage team, it will open up, and obviously I am the owner of this team, as we can see here, right? I've added, just want to open it, I've added Joe Slow. So I can then designate him and basically, I can remove him from my team, or I can add new members into the team. Also, what happens is that when you send out a request to an individual, you can see it says pending request. So if you send out a request and nobody's responded, you will know exactly which person has accepted the link to join your team or not, right? Other options you have is that when you're conducting your, well, we won't be able to do it right now because we can't do a call, but if you're on a call and you would like to mute everybody within the call and just have that you be the person that's speaking at that time, you're able to then go in and mute everybody, and basically the main person who is now hosting the call or the meeting, they would be the only one that would be allowed to talk. So perhaps you'd have everybody on the video, but nobody would be able to talk at that time because you are the basic.
Necessary for teaching. And you know that classroom, especially online, can be quite disruptive because of the background noise that are coming from the various households.
That is correct. Yeah. So it's very important. That's a very important feature because we've had it previously on some of our calls where too many people are trying to talk at the same time, and unfortunately it does affect the quality of the call, and that can be very disrupting. So that's a very important feature, is that you're able to mute everybody and just one specific individual who will be the person that is hosting the meeting or the conference call. They would be the main person that would be able to talk at that point in time.
Well, thank you, Matt. is there any other last tips or nuggets that you would like to take us through just before you leave us?
Okay, so for me, I'm just going to say this now. MS Teams, as I mentioned earlier, it's an awesome tool. It's great for learning. There's lots more stuff that you can do with it. I've just basically touched on the basics of it. For me, as I mentioned, I found it very valuable for, as I said, my work colleagues. I have work colleagues in the Western Cape, in Johannesburg, in the Eastern Cape, and unfortunately, I don't get to see them like I would like to. However, through the functionality of MS Teams, it's brought me much closer to them. So although I don't see them physically or in person, just the fact that I'm able to view them on video and have discussions with them, it's created an atmosphere of almost to say that we are a family as such. So from that standpoint, I'm going to say it's an awesome tool in order to bring your teams together. When I say teams, it's individuals that you might not be able to see on a daily basis, but just through the functionality of being on a video chat or video call with the person on a daily basis, it makes things so much more easier. It makes communication so much more easier, and it also makes you creates a more effective team which you're able to conduct and do your work in. There's lots more features. If we had more time, we could go through them, but I would just say it's one of those systems that's very forgiving. You are able to do things, but also go back and correct them. So it's not something that if you make a mistake, you're stuck with that mistake. It's a very forgiving system, and it works very well.
Thank you, Matthew, for all the knowledge that you imparted to us today. I've learned a lot as I don't use Microsoft Teams. So I've become much more knowledgeable on this e-platform. It's a good thing to note that this is a free e-platform, so it's something that all educators can use. And with every platform, I think when you engage it, you work with it every day and you play around, you become much more confident in using it. And talking about all those features that you didn't get to chat about with us today, as you learn and you play around, you would get to know much more features and become much more knowledgeable on this e-platform. So we thank you for your time. Please join us for our next phase 3, where we'll be looking at different e-platforms that can be used in the classroom after this lockdown period, like Kahoot, like Padlet. How can we use that successfully in our teaching and learning? Thank you.